Hello, one and all, and welcome to the podcast we call the Fantastival with myself, Steve Nussbaum. In the podcast, I invite my guests to come on and talk to me all about their musical taste, their memories, their experiences, and they get to collate their fantasy festivals, which I have christened Fantastivals. I hope everyone is doing well now in early October. And before we start this one, just want to say thank you to the guys from the Heavy North who were my last guests on the 140th episode of the podcast. They were great fun, and I'm looking forward to their upcoming album, Delta Shakedown, being released. That's going to be a belter. So that was 140. This is all about 141. And this week, I'm delighted to introduce the guitarist from one of the best bands around as their upcoming album, Here We Are, gets closer to its release date. From the superb Apollo Junction, ladies and gentlemen, it's Matt Wilson.
I was waiting for an applause then. No, nothing. No. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. Honestly, it means so much to me to be on this, to be on this podcast, to join you. We've had a good chat beforehand, and it seems like you're a really nice guy, and it's going to be a really good chat today. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, nice one, Matt. I feel like we've already done the podcast speaking about football for 20 minutes before we started, but this is what I've got you here for, to find out all about yourself and Apollo Junction. And I always like to start the podcast by making sure my guests are in a good place mentally. And mental health for men especially is something we might not talk about as much as we need to. So Matt, mate, how are you?
Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm okay actually. We're really busy with the run up to the album, and we are all struggling for time, and we are all struggling for time, and it's funny you should say that, because you can feel it in the room actually, the pressure that releasing an album and all that stuff puts on you. And it is really important, all that mental health things. And as a band, a lot of our lyrics are about pulling yourself out of bad places and trying to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And, I always sit down with Jamie and me whenever we write, well, not just Jamie and me write the lyrics, but Jamie and I have always in the past. And we used to always just say stuff like, life's really quite tough at times, but everything will be all right. And everything will be all right, and it will be. And we always try and convey that a little bit. And there's always a piece of that in our songs, I feel. And I think that's why people have got kind of into us, because I think they can feel it. I think they can feel that. So, yeah, I do agree mental health is really important. Thank you for asking. I'm okay. The band are okay. We're 5 best mates, so we'll drag each other through it, whatever happens. But how are you?
I'm all good. I've got this outlet. I've got the On Outlook podcast that I do is another outlet. I've got a very loving family. So thank you for asking as well, because it's always nice to be asked about that myself. So thank you, Matt. I can already tell this is going to be a lovely, adoring podcast. It's going to be a bit of a loving, I think, this one, judging by the earliness. So, Matt, obviously people listening will probably know you from Apollo Junction, but in case anyone who's listening to this isn't aware of yourself or Apollo Junction, tell us a bit more about yourself. So you're the guitarist in Apollo Junction, but what do you like to do as well as being the guitarist in the band? Me
personally, I guess, well, I'll tell you a bit. Oh, gosh, that is a good question. So I do a lot of, I watch a lot of sport. I try and make sure I always look after myself. I like cooking. I like spending time with my family. That's really important to me. I don't get a lot of free time because if I'm not doing my day job, I'm doing my night job, and that's playing in a band. I like to write, and I find that as a really good release for myself. I'm quite a religious bloke. I'm quite a spiritual bloke, so I find that channels that piece of me. I find a lot of divinity in what I do, and that's quite important to me as well. I'd like to consider myself to be a good family man. I'd like to consider myself to be a good friend, and I try and make sure that I am those things, and I live that life by looking after the people around me that I love the most. And a massive part of my life has been the band Apollo Junction, because since the age of about 18, I've been playing music properly, and we've been going as a band for, 8 odd years as properly. And, we've watched it slowly grow. Some people just rocket to fame, and that's not how the way we've done it. We've grafted to fame. We've made the mistakes which have knocked us back, but we've never given up, and we've kind of held each other through the hard times, like I said earlier, and built and put an album out, and then managed to put another album out, and slowly some people quite enjoyed the music, and we're quite flabbergasted really as a band when people do, because when you are making and creating music, it's such an exposure of the soul that people can't really appreciate it. Imagine writing down your soul, sending it to somebody, and then somebody saying, "Oh, I don't like it." That's what music is to us. We could sit in a room together and we're writing songs, and some of them are so personal. They might not sound it. The lyrics might not be really obvious, but they are personal to us. And then when people say, "Oh, I like it," it's the most beautiful feeling in the world. And when people say, "I love it," it's incredible. And then when people say that you're with their favourite band, or they want to get a tattoo of it, or they want us to sign something, I can't believe that people want me to sign a piece of paper for them. I'm humbled every single time because it doesn't make sense in my head, because I'm just like some bloke from Leeds who writes a couple of songs, and it is really beautiful. And yeah, I know I've just rambled on, but that's a bit about me really, and a bit about the band, I guess.
Do you know what? That was really nice, because when you started talking about the band, and you'll hear this when you listen back, your tone of voice changed when you started talking about Apollo Junction. It went from a bit of a louder, broader voice to more of an introverted, calm, loving voice. When you listen back, you might hear that, and I'm sure listeners might hear that when
you do realise that all the lads are going to make fun of me for that car. but what I would say as well is, you are right, because Apollo Junction, has been in my life now for a big part of it, and it's something that I've built. It's not, it's like a bloke talking about his own business, that he built from the bottom up, and that's what we've done. It's not. It is a total labour of love, and we all love it.
Yeah, I think you can tell that from your social posts, by the way you've spoken about your bandmates as well. So earlier you said you started playing properly when you were 18, but let me take you back before then. What made you want to start playing guitar? How did you get into it?
Well, as a kid, I was always in the back of my mum and dad's car wherever we went on holiday, because we used to go to the north of France a lot, and we used to listen to a lot of the old tapes. So my upbringing was pretty much the Beatles, Rod Stewart, Elton John, all their albums, and a lot of greatest hits, I think, of bands. And I used to sit in the back of the car and just want to be Ringo Starr, because I used to like just hitting the armrest that my dad had. So I just wanted to be Ringo Starr, and that was it. And then as I got a little bit older, I fell in love with Dire Straits and Mark Knopfler. And then my dad took me to Newcastle to watch Mark Knopfler live, because that's where he's from. And my dad was like, "Oh, we'll go up to Newcastle to watch." Brilliant. We got there, and he walked out and he played a song called "What It Is," which, if you haven't heard it, I recommend you go listen to it. It's what he opened with. And he played the guitar, and I turned to my dad and I said, "I want to learn to play guitar, Dad." And my dad said no. So
that was a really romantic, life-defining moment. And then your dad went, "No."
No, my dad obviously didn't say no. He helped me out, and then I didn't really like it. I couldn't really do it very well, and it annoyed me, and I felt a bit of a failure with it all. And then I got more into playing sports and things like that, and then I hurt myself playing a sport and damaged my shoulder, and I had damaged my back more. So I spent a lot of time just sort of not doing anything, and I started twiddling on it. And I realised that I was better than I was. I'd got better. And so once I started doing that, I just kept going. And then once I started mastering playing a song, I kept going. And then suddenly I was writing songs and writing guitar parts and stuff like that. And then I met the lads.
So how did you meet then? Was it just a bunch of mates from school who got on and all had a common interest in music? How did Apollo Junction then come to form?
How did Apollo Junction come to form? So, you won't believe this story, but this is God's honest truth, okay? And you can call Ben now, and I'll call him and put him on the phone if you don't believe me. So I went to college, and Ben was at college. We didn't know each other. And I went into the computer rooms because we had to do some, like, typing up something with it. And I went and sat down next to him, and we were both listening to the same album. I mean, it was in the day when you didn't have iPads or anything like that. You had like CD, and you plugged it in the computer, and you know. But we were listening to the same album, which was "What's the Story, Morning Glory" by Oasis. And I think we were listening to "Cast No Shadow." And I looked at him and I was like, "You're listening to "Cast No Shadow" by Oasis?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "I'm listening to "Cast No Shadow" by Oasis." So we ended up talking about music for like half an hour. And I'm like, "Oh, so where are you from? Oh, this, and the other. Right, cool, yeah. Oh, it's lovely to meet you," because you don't meet many people who like sort of that kind of music. It was great. And then when we got up to leave, we were both wearing the same shoes, exactly the same trainers. And we were like, and then And then we said, oh, do you fancy meeting up and jamming? And we did a bit of jamming, and we tried to write some songs, and they were all absolutely terrible. And then we met Jamie, who's the singer of the band. Ben's the bassist. And then we formed a little band, which lasted for a couple of years. And then it all kind of fell apart. And then Ben left to Australia for a year. And when he left to Australia for a year, that little band was about to kind of fail. But then Sam was niffing about in Leeds. He's a really accomplished pianist. And we kind of brought him into that other band. And we were trying to write, and it just wasn't kind of working. And then Ben came back, but didn't want to join that band because it felt like it was over, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the band, I couldn't write music without Ben.
He's like your muse, like you go off each other, right? So
it just wouldn't be right.
All right.
It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't feel right. I couldn't do it without any of them now, by the way. So, but at the time, it certainly didn't feel right. And like Ben was part of and Jamie knows this, and Sam knows this. Ben was part of the fabric of it all. And so that band disbanded. Ben had started jamming with Johnny, who is just the most amazing drummer, like incredible drummer, and devilishly handsome as well. So, which is annoying actually. But we all just met up, and we just wrote a song like that. And and you're like, oh, that was quite good, that song actually. And then from then on in, it just kind of built and built and built from there. And we started writing songs. And then the first song we wrote was Pictures. And then a couple of times later, we'd written a song called Begin. Ben didn't tell us, sent a CD off to Steve Lamacq. It was on the radio. So we'd been there like from nothing to being on the radio. And we're like, oh, well, this is surely like a bit of a sign that we need to keep this going. And we kept it going. And, we've had hits and we've had things that have gone wrong for us. But, there's no money behind us. There's no rich dads, and there's just literally 5 best mates grafting, and that's how it's all kind of like happened.
And it seems like you're a very close bunch, like you said. And you mentioned the first 2 albums. So you had Mystery out, which is a fantastic album. That was back in 2019. That must seem like a lifetime ago, I guess, because so much has happened in that 4 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mystery was released during lockdown or just before lockdown? And I
think it was just before, but you might know better.
I really can't remember. It was a weird time, that, wasn't it?
So let me ask you a question about that time then. How do you maintain being in a band where it's all closed, you just released an album, we've got one coming out, how do you maintain the momentum during, I guess, a good 6 to 9 months of lockdown, not being able to see each other, not being able to be in the same room? How do you maintain that?
It was lovely. I must admit, I was all on my own then, and I struggled a lot with that. But what I did have was a lot of video calls, and in a weird way, I didn't write a lot. We kind of always co-wrote, and I think what it did was it forced us to write on our own. So we ended up writing on our own and then coming back with All In, which, as good as Mystery is, I think All In is just incredible album. Like, I mean, I know I'm biased because it's my band, but like, I do every song on it. I'm like, do you know what? That's brilliant. And I think that's because, it was like we were all sat down. Some of us have families, some of us were on our own, but whenever we had that downtime where you're on your own, it's like, oh, you got all right now, man. Do you know what I mean? And like, it really forced us to get really, really good at writing songs. So if anything, in a weird way, it was quite positive effect because, I mean, nothing positive about COVID. I'm not saying that, but like, it also meant that we got to connect with our fans a bit more because, again, we were on social media. So we had nothing else to do. So people there going, I love this song. And you're there going, oh, thanks very much. I ended up having like these relationships with our fans. Whereas before, we were never standoffish. That's just not us. We're nice lads. We are all nice lads, But you're not as close. And then it's like, it was really good. So there were lots of, for the band, positive things to come out of that. A, we got better at songwriting, and B, we got better at being kind of friends of our fans. So
yeah, and All In, like you said, that is a fantastic album. I commend you on that album. Two Car Family, Borderline, Sometimes, Forever. Loads of great tunes on that album. However, we're now on the eve of the new one, right? So here we are, released on Friday, the 20th of October. You've already put out some absolute belting singles already. Most recently, Magic, which came out on the 29th of September. History is probably my favourite because I find History to be an amazing track anyway, and in it, the last minute and a half goes in a completely different direction, which is beautiful.
Kind of goes like a bit ridey, doesn't it? Kind of like shoegazer-ish kind of by the end.
But I love it. So you've already brought out quite a few amazing singles, but I guess talk about Here We Are then. So 2 years in the making. Tell us about the album.
The album's a bit of a weird album, really, because it was kind of constructed in rooms in sort of strange ways. So, like, history, we experimented a bit more with this album. So history, we write collectively, and but that whole vocal, you know how Jamie's got this, like, kind of using his falsetto, and it's all really like, that came because I had this idea, I didn't come up with that melody, but I have a home studio in the spare room, and I think Jamie and me and Sam were jamming it, and Jamie came up with the melody, or Sam did, one of them did, anyway. They'll argue over that. I'll leave that to them. But I was recording it. I said, "Oh, great session, lads. I'll put down the idea that we had when you're all gone." And so I'm in my spare room, and there's very thin walls, next door neighbour. So that whole vocal was because I was recording it and I was singing it. Thank God we got rid of my voice, replaced it with Jamie singing it in tune. But I couldn't sing loud, so I had to use this like falsetto and this really gentle voice. And so I was like, I'll put it down. Okay, and then the chords don't change for the on your own bit.
Yeah.
So the chords don't change for that. I just put some guitar over this heavier bit. But then the original version went that, then you're on your own bit, and then it went to the bit at the end, and that was meant to be a chorus. And I wanted to, because I put that down, just like my brain was just like, it's 2 a.m. I was like, I'll put some ideas down. And so that ending ended up being moved to the end by the producer, I think. He's like, oh no, put it at the end. Put a big ending at it. But that bit before was meant to be the end, and it was meant to be like a Kasabian sounding chorus. And then we worked on it with our producer, and he was like, no, let's keep it really like weird and ethereal and like strange throughout all this. And then we'll go to Ride, like shoegazing rock, heavy, boom at the end. It's a great song, History. And it's probably, in a weird way, I think as a collective, it's probably that song that defines like us really trying to push everything for this album and really trying to push ourselves. But anyway, back to the album. Here we are. So yeah, it's a labour of love. It's really like 5 mates writing together, trying to push each other, trying to write different sounding songs, but songs that are still united in the same sort of vibe. It's trying to go a bit bigger. If the sound could have got any bigger, I didn't think we could, but it's really trying to fill that stadium rock. And again, it goes back to some of the lyrics are meant to really like hit you in there about life and about life's journey. And, we really care about our fans. We care about them both in a way of, we care that they like our music, but we care about them as people. And this album's a tribute to that in both respects, I think. And if you follow us on social media, you'll see we do a lot of posts about this sort of stuff, to the extent that, one Christmas, I think it was 2 Christmases ago, I was walking back from church actually on Christmas Day, and I was like, I put a message out like, anyone who needs a call, anyone who needs a message on Christmas Day, just hit me up, because, I was walking back to my family's, but not everybody's got that. And if I could sum it, what we as a collective, and I said, this would be a good idea, and the lad's like, yeah, we should, if you don't mind doing it, you should definitely do it. If I could sum up Here We Are, it's kind of that. It's that kind of like, we have written this album with the most love for our fans to write and produce an album that we think they'll adore. Can't put any better than that. I think it's that. It's like, here we are. We're doing everything we can. This is our soul. This is it.
I think you summed it up really nicely there, Matt, and I look forward even more to listening to the album as a collective together when it comes out on the 20th. So the aim, I think you've been quite clear in what you want to do with the album, right? So the aim of the album is to try and get it into as many people's hands and ears as possible and try and break that top 75. Yeah,
I think we didn't really ever consider it. We weren't really ever... We've never really been that bothered about chasing these sort of things, but quite nice, wouldn't it? We're just 5 lads. No, like I say, there's no money behind us. We're not here. We're not earning fortunes, We've not got rich dads, unfortunately, because that would make my life a lot easier. We don't. We're literally 5 lads, and we're there going, do you reckon we can make the top 100? And it's like, well, maybe. Should we give it a go? Well, maybe.
And if you want...
I think we can get the top 75. Well, maybe.
Mate, anything is possible, right? You've got to believe in yourselves to be able to do that. And it's very clear from talking to you that all of you in the band believe in Apollo Junction and you believe in the album, and from what I can see on social media, the reaction to every single so far on the album has been very positive. And
I think we also believe in our fans. Like, our fans will take us there if that's what we want to do. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't quite happen because Taylor Swift releases an album that week, which could happen, and that'll be it. It'll be over. And because she'll take the top 10 and then everyone will get moved down and that'll be that. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, you know, I'd rather look at my grandkids one day and go, yeah, but I tried. Yeah. And if it doesn't quite work, it's not like we've failed. You know, it's not a failure because it doesn't really matter what the chart says. What matters is what the album is. All that matters is the album.
And if people want to buy the physical album, they can still buy the physical album, right? So you're doing a great offer on the CD, deluxe CD, for a £5, which is incredible value.
Yeah, so Wax and Beans, if you don't know them, the amazing group of people working in Bury, like, incredible guys. Like, the guy Ben, just the nicest bloke in the world. We sat down. We are making no money off that CD. I mean, we're at cost, as you can imagine. So we're selling it at the cheapest you can sell it for it to be registered for the chart. So it's like there is no way we could sell it any cheaper. If we could, we would. But this is like quite literally like, if you believe in our music as much as we do, and I think most people kind of who love us do, you know, you could buy it for a £5, or you could buy 2 for a £10, and you could give one away. You know, people will spend £5 on a coffee and think nothing of it. Well, let me assure you now, it's way better than a coffee. You know what I mean, though? It is. It's way better than a coffee because, A, you're helping out 5, well, I can speak for 4 of them, 4 really nice lads, and me, you know, but also what you are doing is you're supporting new music. The lottery winners, they went to number 1. We're not going to do that. I know we're not. But my God, what they've done is they've brought some belief back into music. We sat there thinking, well, they can do it. Why aren't we giving this a go? Even, like, you know, and then, so yeah, if you do it, if you are keen, £5 through the Wax and Beans website, that would be just really kind of you. That's all I can say. It'd be really kind. It'd be a kind act, and, you know, buy it for somebody for Christmas and say, you know, this is the best album you will hear all year, because it will be. Other than the Heavy Wealth one, we've got to be careful with that because they were on last week.
Yeah,
and they're nice guys.
On last week. Lovely guys as well.
Yeah, they're lovely people. So I'm gonna, you know, get that one as well. But like, but what I'm saying is, it's a really good album, and you know, it's good to support us. But some people love getting a vinyl, and we've got all this beautiful vinyl. We've got 4 different, no, more than that. We did one with Blood Records, and that sold out in 48 minutes, which was mad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy. I had to buy myself a version in case they didn't have any spares. I honestly did. I was like, what if there's no owners and I don't get one? I was like, I better buy one. Yeah. That's not even a joke. There's a gold edition, which is limited, which is through the Wax and Beans website. We've done one with them because we believe so much in what they're doing that we wanted to support them because, again, they're championing our kind of music. And so we gave them their own version, and that's the gold edition. Then there's a gig edition, which is a gatefold one, which you can either get through I can never say it right.
Asai Records. Yeah.
Asai Records in Scotland, which is cool, and you get a really nice Obi strip, or you can get it and you'll get a T-shirt and 2 tickets to a gig. And that goes through the Shedload Records website, which is just go to apollojunction.com and follow the links. Then there's the ultraviolet version, which does actually kind of glow in the dark. If you go on our socials, you'll see. And that comes with like badges and fridge magnets and beer mats, which are quite cool, actually. Then there's the black edition, which is just sort of a regular edition. That has an Obi strip as well. But that is really close to sold out now, completely. And then that'll be gone. But, you know, to be honest with you, if buying music ain't your thing and you're not going to do it, that's all right. But sharing us on social media costs you absolutely nothing. And that can make a massive difference. So, you know, I get it. Certain people do not physically buy music because they don't want to anymore. And they pay for the Spotify account and that's it. But they support it. Supporting it is buying a ticket to the tour. We've got a load of dates coming up. For example, we're in Blackpool at the end of October. Then we're in Glasgow. And then we're in Liverpool. And then I would say come to Manchester, but that's sold out. Then we're in Sheffield, but that's sold out. Then Leeds. Leeds is obviously sold out because it's Leeds. but then we're in Nottingham and we're in Cardiff, so we've got like 7 dates. So you can support us by coming to watch us live, or you can support us by listening to it, thinking of your mates who'd like it and sharing it with them, because actually that's massive too.
You've done really well to remember the gig dates, because I've got them in front of me and I was thinking, I wonder if he's going to hit all 7 in the order, and you did. So I can only commend you on your memory there, Matt. That's fantastic work. Great plug. A great plug. So if anyone's listening and has never been to an Apollo Junction gig, because I haven't been to an Apollo Junction gig, to be fair, what would one expect when they come and see you on this tour then?
The last gig we played, Jamie was out in the crowd because he does that because he's mad. And I came out in the crowd because I'm also mad. And I heard somebody shout, "It's like U2 in the 80s." And you know what? That's leaving to hear, innit? Because there's a reason why they took over the world. So I would say it's just fans feeling amazing about being there. There's a family atmosphere. It is like we're one big family, and it's like we're there together. And we have really long leads, so we get in the crowd and we spend time with you, and we want to be in there with you. And it's just great. I just love it. It's just so uplifting. It's uplifting playing the songs because they're uplifting songs, but it's uplifting watching people sing them back to you. And I think everyone is we're utterly confused when we see people at our gigs. It's like, what? Why is there 10 people here? Now it's like 400 or 500 people. Yeah. We're like, what are they? Why do people want to come? And we can't get over the fact that people want to watch our music, and we're not humbled, because that's the wrong word. We're proud of that, and I think that the crowd can pick up on that, which is lovely.
Great. So, like Matt has said, you can find all their tour dates online. You've mentioned social media a fair bit, Matt, as well. So, if anyone wants to give you a follow, if they don't already, how do people find Apollo Junction on social? Where do people go to find you?
I mean, I'm teaching you to suck eggs here, but type Apollo Junction in, and it's like, we're the only ones, I think. But the Facebook's always good. Twitter's good. We'll message you on that. Happily talk to you on that. Insta, we're not that TikTokers. I've not learnt to body pop quite yet. But I hope one day to be on TikTok dancing to a Taylor Swift song in the name of Apollo Junction. But yeah, we're on the other ones. TikTok's there, but I think we're probably more prevalent on the other 3. And then obviously, just come to a gig is always good as well, and actually talk to us, and through the website apollojunction.com. You can't miss us. It's all there.
Great stuff. So in terms of, I guess, going back to yourself, Matt, and your taste, what kind of music are you into? Who are you listening to at the moment?
Right, hold on then, I'll tell you. Right, so in the car on the way home today, I was listening to the new Disclosure album. There you go, a bit of dance music. And then before I was listening to that, I was listening to Hip Hop Hooray by Naughty by Nature.
Oh, old school.
Yeah. But if you ask me what I really like, I really like 60s and 90s, really. I think that's my thing. 60s and 90s, and I like bands in between that. I was raised on a lot of classical music by my mum and dad, which hasn't really pulled into the whole Apollo Junction thing, I don't think. But I listen to a lot of that now, I think, in my old age, because I quite like that now. And also, sometimes I just like to listen to stuff a bit different to what I'm doing. So I write a lot of stuff. Well, not me, but we write a lot of stuff that sounds like a bit U2-y, a bit, like Oasis-y, and a bit Beatles-y, and a bit this, in terms of like how they structure a song and stuff like that. And then you go listen to some classical music or some dance music or something like that, and it's just so far away. It's almost like a little bit of a welcome break. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But like spending all weekend watching the football and then thinking, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch the darts.
Yeah.
I need a break. I cannot watch another 0-0 draw. I need a break.
So Matt, let me take you back then to when you was a younger man. Remember buying your first record and what that first record was? Where you bought that?
It was PJ and Duncan and What's the Story in Morning Glory. Both bought for Christmas by my mum and dad for me on tape.
Strong choices.
They were my first 2 albums. So Ant and Dec, or PJ and Duncan, if you're old enough to remember that, and What's the Story in Morning Glory by Oasis.
So this podcast, Matt, is all about taking you into your fantasy festival. But are you a big fan of festivals? Have you been to many festivals?
Well, yeah. I mean, I did when I was a bit younger, but now I play them. And so we go do like Isle of Wight, and that's great because it's like a proper throwback. But I haven't been to a festival to watch music for ages because I go to them to play now. So it's a weird dynamic. I love festivals. I think they are a great way to show people new bands, and I think that they should have to put new bands on. I think it's a great tragedy when you don't see so many of them, because actually that used to be the way you got known. You'd tour and then you'd do a festival and you'd be picked up because you were doing like the Carling stage, and I think that's really important. So I love to see a festival that supports sort of bands like us. So Isle of Wight Festival is incredible because they really do. And John Giddings, the guy who runs Isle of Wight, nicest guy in the world. Honestly, what a kind man. And because he supported us so much, and it's just worked, and it's built, and it's built, and it's built. And we've almost got a bit of a following in the Isle of Wight now because we've played it so many times. So yes, I love festivals, but I haven't been to them other than a working capacity in a long time now. So yeah, it's weird actually. I'd never thought about that, but now you've said it, yeah.
Well, you get the honour of collating your fantasy festival on this very podcast. So for any first-time listeners who haven't listened to the podcast before, Matt gets to choose any 5 acts, one of whom must play one of their studio albums in full, and Matt also gets to choose an encore, which can be the song that finishes his fantasy festival, that all 5 acts of his lineup get to play together at the end to close his fantasy festival. So very simple, 5 acts, take 5 time slots. So I mentioned them at the beginning, but I had Andy, Jack and Mark on from the Heavy North in episode 140. They collated their THN Hootenanny Fields Fantasy Festival, and they had John Martin as their opening act. For the Super Seconds, they had the Gaslight Anthem, who played their album Handwritten in full. Midway Madness, they picked the Hives. Pre-headline act, they had the Black Keys, and for the headline act, they had Nile Rodgers and Chic. And for their encore, they had all 5 of their acts playing You're Wondering Now by the Specials. So very simple for any first-time listeners who've never listened before. So Matt, before you get to choose your 5 acts, we have the very important responsibility of naming your fantasy festival and giving it a venue. So Matt, what are you going to call your fantasy festival?
I'm going to call it, I've been thinking about this, right? So at first, because my surname's Wilson, I was going to call it Castaway Festival because I was going to be selfish. But then I realised it's not going to be that, because it's got to be Apollo Junction related, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to call it Takeoff Festival.
I see what you've done there.
Sorry?
I see what you've done there, Matt.
Yeah, all right there. Okay, so I've decided it's going to be Takeoff Festival. No, actually, Ready for the Launch Festival. That's better. Ready for the Launch Festival. Yeah, that's cooler. I like that more. Right. And it reminds me of a song from when I was younger.
So we got Ready for the Launch. What's dance song? I can't remember the dance song you're referring to. You want to give us a bit of a throwback? No?
No, I'll just text you later. No chance. It went da 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 da. That one.
Oh, I feel like I might be getting there with that one. So we can hold Ready for the Launch Festival anywhere in the world. So obviously it's well known what big Leeds United fans. Ellen Road. We can go anywhere else you want to. We don't have to stay in England. We go abroad if you want, mate. We can go big, small, wherever you want. Where you want to hold this?
Dorna. If you know, you know. That's all I'm saying.
Where? Dorna?
THORNER.
Fauna.
If you know, you know.
Fine. I've got no idea what you're talking about, but I'll have to
We've got a fan who every single time we do anything, he goes, "When are you going to come gig in my back garden in Thorner?" So we're doing a festival at his house.
That's amazing. All right.
And I hope you've listened to this. I hope you're listening to this and you're going to message me saying, yeah, thank you. Because that's where Ready for the Launch Festival is in 2038 or whatever it's going to be, right?
Brilliant. All right, so we've got our title, we've got our lineup. Before we're going to talk about your 5 acts, Matt, any acts you want to shout out who you love but aren't making it into your Ready for the Launch Festival?
Yeah, actually, I've written some stuff down because I'm a bit of a geek. I haven't put in a few bands that I really love. So I haven't put in the Beach Boys. I'm putting New Order. I haven't put in Oasis. Oh God, sorry. I haven't put any of the big, like the Blurs or the Pulps of this world in. I've picked my festival because I've thought about entertaining people really and trying to balance stuff. And so yeah, I've missed out loads of these great acts, and I hope what I've done for my festival is entertain the best way possible. But it's going to finish with the band that I like the most, because why not?
Absolutely. It's your fantasy festival. Yeah, your fantasy festival. So you get to choose. So some big bands not coming with us. So Beach Boys rarely been picked on the Fantastival. Same as New Order, not been picked much at all. Oasis, Pulp, Blur have to wait another day to get on the lineup. So let's talk about the 5 then, Matt. So 2 o'clock, we're in Fauna. Everyone's loving it. Time for your first act to come out and take the stage at your fantasy festival. So who are you going to have?
Right, I've thought about this. I want a band that are going to come out. They're going to be songs that everyone knows. It's not going to be a long set, so it's just going to be bang, 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 and it's going to be all killer, no filler. So it's just going to be songs to get people going, bouncing along for the first. It's going to be 45 minutes, isn't it? And that band's Madness, kicking it off with Madness.
Good shout. Madness, I mean, they've got so much content that they can play for you. What do they have to play in the time slot you're giving them? Because they could do a whole day, right? So I know you've got more than an hour, 45 minutes worth of bangers. What do you have to have Madness play at your fantasy festival when they walk out?
They have to play One Step Beyond. They have to play Madness. They have to play Baggy Trousers. They've got to play House of Fun. They've got to play My Girl. My Girl's Mad at Me. They've got to play It Must Be Love, obviously, to finish with that. Oh, what was the other one? Why have you done this to me? I've forgotten. I've forgotten a major song now. Where people going to go? You forgot. Did I say House of Fun? Our house.
Our house. Fine.
And then that's it. They go, and everyone goes, "Oh, wasn't that incredible? Wasn't that incredible?"
Certainly will be.
That's it. It's gone, isn't it? It's like, poof, poof.
They're in and they're out. They're in and they're out. So yeah, Madness make their 3rd Fantastival appearance. So only 3rd time they've been picked as Fantasy Festival acts. In the other 2 times they've been picked as opening acts as well. So they're going to open up the Fantasy Festival. They're going to be amazing, and they're a great open act, to be fair. We'll take a half-hour break. That'll take us to 3:30. So your Super Seconds act get an hour to play from 3:30 to 4:30. So who are you going to have, Matt, follow Madness?
Following Madness, I'm going to have Bit Out There. Well, you probably had it before, but I'm going to have Daft Punk play. They're going to come on. They're going to kind of come bring it back, and they're just going to play killer, sort of like Discovery, sort of Random Access Memories, thudding set of just people, because people are 3 or 4 drinks in, they're ready to have a dance, aren't they now? So it's just bang, bang, bang to the fluff, house act, flashing lights everywhere, proper big screen stuff, brilliant.
Love it, great shout. Daft Punk, Super Seconds, the 4th time they've been chosen in a Fantasy Festival lineup. Great to have them back in the room with us. They're going to do an hour, like we said, take another half-hour break, and that takes us to 5 o'clock, and it'll be time for your Midway Madness act, who get to play from 5 till 6. So very good first 2 acts, Matt. Who are you going to have follow Daft Punk?
No, I know that Daft Punk have kind of quit, but they've not split up quit. So I'm reforming a band now. Right? So this is like people like, I went to Daft Punk, but this is serious now. And I'm reforming the Smiths, and I'm bringing the Smiths out at this point to play. Yeah, I'm reforming the Smiths, and it's going to start with what's the song?
There's quite a few they can choose from. I mean, I'm happy to try and help you out.
How soon is now? Starts with the How Soon Is Now. It's got to have that, and that's when we know we're off, and then that's just killer. So it's the Smiths. I'm assuming they've been picked 1,000 times, but I don't care.
Do you know what? The beauty of this podcast is there's some really obvious bands. I won't mention anyone too obvious just in case they come later on in your lineup. But Smiths have only been picked 5 times before. So when you think of a ratio, this is the 6th time they've been picked out of 141 episodes. Not as often as what I guess you think they would, to a certain extent. But a great act. Getting Morrissey and Marr back in the same room. And you can take them from when they were much younger. So it doesn't have to be the present day, what they would be like. You can have them in their heyday.
Oh, no. I honestly, I want the reform. I want them reforming. That's my point. I mean, there is one band with a few dead members coming up, so I think you've already probably guessed who that band is. Probably, yeah. I want them reforming. Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
There'll be one to watch that one. So the Smiths are going to play your Midway Madness slot. They're playing from 5 till 6, 3 acts down, 2 acts to go. So your pre-headline act are going to get an hour and a half. They're going to play from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. So Matt, who are you going to have as your pre-headline act?
Right. I know this is obvious, but I was watching that video of them just the other day, and I hate admitting it because I've been robbing the edge for so long now that I feel like there's a lawsuit waiting in the post. But they're just incredible. They've been incredible since the 1980s. They keep reinventing themselves. They've reinvented the lives act, and what we're watching now, when you watch bands like Muse or whatever, you're not watching Muse, you're watching what U2 did. And U2 changed it all. And whatever your opinions are on him or their music, they've really changed music forever and in such a positive way. And I've seen them live a couple of times, and I've never ever seen a band that compares quite like U2. So the band on before the headline act are U2. Or Apollo Junction, actually. Either, I'm happy for either. If the fee's right.
In terms of U2, Matt, I mean, there's so many different eras of U2 you can go for. Any particular era you're looking for?
So, in terms of live, I think it's that Upchung Baby sort of time. But for me, I just love it all. I'm so biased because there's always something to take from every album, even the albums that people are like, oh, I don't like October, or I don't really like that, No Line on the Horizon. I'm like, well, there's always something you can take from it. There's always a little something you can always take from it. They're just brilliant. I mean, like, just a brilliant band, and I just think they'd make the lineup great.
You might not believe this, Matt. First time ever U2 have been chosen in 141 episodes for a fantasy festival.
I know, because they're not a really popular band.
It's crazy, isn't it? But they're a massive band.
But they don't need to be popular, and they don't need to be cool, because if you know, that's it.
Yeah.
And actually, when you go listen to them stuff and you break it all down and you listen to Brian Eno's production and how they're doing things and how they create the sounds, amazing band, really, like really special band.
So I take it The Edge is quite a big influence on yourself in terms of the effects he's trying to do and the sounds he's creating, because again, he's only one guitarist, right, and he's creating this world and wall of sound around your ears.
I think the thing for The Edge is that he's a very, very, very good guitarist, and that's not undeniable, but what he's found a way of is creating noises that other people can't really do. And I'm not being funny, but there's a reason why the Kings of Leon started sounding like U2, and then the Killers started sounding like U2, and all these bands try to sound a bit like U2. Muse try to sound a bit like U2, and it's like, well, because they're doing something right, you know what I mean? And they're trying to reinvent themselves all the time. And yeah, The Edge is a big influence on me, actually. He's a very clever guitarist because, doesn't need to do an ego solo. He can just make a solo sound beautiful with what he does. And if you ever watch a documentary of him talking about the guitar end of With In Without You, it's 2 notes, and it's just a bit of delay. That's it, and a bit of reverb. And he's like, yeah, it just sounds great to me, though. And he never overcomplicates things, and I think that's what I like.
Yeah.
It goes back to that debate of, is the best guitarist the one who can play the fastest, or is it the one who can pick the right notes? Was Ringo Starr a good drummer? Well, Dave Grohl says he was the best drummer ever because he was in the best band ever. And I think he knows a bit about drumming, you know what I mean? So.
Absolutely. So
and on the subject of the best band ever...
you can lead into it. So your headline act, 8:30 to 11 o'clock. Now, I think I know who you're going to pick, but I'm not going to cut in there with my guess. But you get your headline act, 2.5 hours.
A 2-part headline act with one half being the Beatles in their sort of like early days, doing all the One After 909 thing, and then there'll be some mad music, and then after they've done like Rubber Soul, and they go off and they come back in the costumes, and then they just see us all the way through to the end of Abbey Road, into Let It Be, and then we all go home happy.
Great shout. Beatles, only the 8th time the Beatles have been picked in the Fantasy Festival world. So Beatles a headline act. It's going to be an amazing show. 2.5 hours. That's just going to be pure hits and people singing along. So we have the Beatles playing to 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, they're going to welcome back on stage U2, the Smiths, Daft Punk, and Madness. I'm sure Apollo Junction will end up on the stage, which is fine. We can have Apollo Junction on there, of course. And they'll get to play one song. They're all looking at you, going, Matt, mate, what do you want us to play? And you get to tell them what they can play, Matt. So, Matt, what are you going to have them play?
Before I say this, I can't imagine Daft Punk doing a very good cover of this song, but they'll be there on stage. And the song is possibly the most beautiful song ever written. I don't know whether it is or not, but it's got to be in the top 10. And that song is God Only Knows What I'd Be Without You by the Beach Boys.
Oh, so you got the beat. You mentioned Beach Boys as being one of your missed acts, but we still get them in there via the encore.
Yeah.
Great shout.
And I think that song is really poignant to me because I've got my effects pedal board, and on the front of it I've got a sign that says God Only Knows What I'd Be Without You, and it always makes me laugh that I put it on my effects pedal board because I don't know what I'd be without my effects, because people might hear what my guitar actually sounds like.
Brilliant. You're gonna have someone at one of your gigs who's gonna spot your pedal board now and look at your sticker and smile at you and give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love it if somebody said, "Is that because you're not a very good guitarist?" I'd go, "Yeah."
Great shout. Do you know what? I can imagine the Beatles and Bono and Morrissey and Suggs delivering that from a vocal perspective really well. And you just have Daft Punk like nodding in their helmets like around
just doing that. Yeah. But to be honest with you, I would love to watch the Beatles. Because I think it's Paul McCartney's favourite song, isn't it? I'd love to listen to the Beatles singing that song with Morrissey and all that, and Madness playing the horns, and just Daft Punk sticking a fat beat through it all. It would be ruining it for everyone.
Mate, you might be onto something there. Sounds amazing. So let's lock your Fantasy Festival in. So we've got ready for the launch, taking place at Fauna. Opening that, we've got Madness, Super Seconds, Daft Punk, Midway Madness, The Smiths, pre-headline act, U2 making their first ever Fantasy Festival appearance, and headlining your Fantasy Festival, we've got the Beatles, and for your encore, they're all going to play God Only Knows. That sounds like an incredible Fantasy Festival to me, Matt. You happy to lock that one into our Fantastival vaults?
I am. Whether I get away with it with the lads, we'll see. But yeah, I'm happy with that.
Brilliant stuff. So before we finish this one, like we said, an amazing time to be in Apollo Junction, right? And a really exciting time. We've got the album on the 20th of October coming out, Here We Are, that we've spoken about. You've got the live shows, which start at late October and go through to early, mid-December. So I guess my question for you is, what are you hoping, I guess, after the tour? I guess what are as silly as it may sound, what are your plans for the future after kind of passes?
I think we'll start writing again very soon. Once the tour's over, I think we'll get back to writing. I think we won't stop doing what we do. I think the venues will get a little bit bigger. I think the fan base will get a little bit more, and I think we'll all be spending a little bit more time replying to people because we are the ones doing it. There's no bots, there's no machines, it's us. And I think in another year things will be a little bit bigger, and then I hope that nothing changes really in terms of the journey gets bigger. But I still want to do stuff like this, and I still want to chat to my fans, and I just hope that we get a little bit, and it just grows and it grows, and then people just share it. I just want people to share it, or share new music. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be ours. I'm bored of listening to the same artists. I'm bored of somebody being in the top 10 and it being 10 of the top 10 is them. That's rubbish. That's not what me. That's not fun. Do you know what I mean? Let's get. Wouldn't it be great if the Heavy North and Apollo Junction and the lottery winners were all fighting over the top 10 with the Slow Readers Club and with them, and it'd be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be? Isn't that what music should be?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what it should be? It shouldn't. And that's not to say there's not a place for those artists, and there should be. But there's no way the top 10 should be all owned by the same artist. That's a monopoly. Music ain't a monopoly. Music's art. So I just want more people to enjoy music, and if we could share it all and support each other, then hopefully this time in a year we'll be having this chat and you'll be making me do another one. And
I'll be honest with you, to come on, you'll be like, nah, I've done that. We're not going back to that one. We're going to hang out with our other mates and with bigger and better podcasts. But I'll hold you to that, Matt.
But if that happens, then it's all gone wrong for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Really. All right, so that's
exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's plug the album in one more time before we finish. Here we are, Friday, October the 20th. Matt, I'll hand it over to you. Give it all you got, bud. Let's plug it.
Thank you. Well, thank you firstly so much for listening, and thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and all the band do actually. We really appreciate you taking your time to do this. So that's most important, and thank you so much for listening. That's also really important. Yeah, on Friday the 20th of October, our third studio album, Here We Are, comes out. We'd dearly love you to support us. You can support us in 3 ways, really. Way number 1 is to buy a record. Or a CD. They're not records are expensive. We know that, but there's loads of cool editions with all the extras. Nothing boring. It's just there's loads of extras. Go have a look on www.apollojunction.com. The second way you could support us is if you've got a spare $5, you could buy a CD. Okay, from the Wax and Beans website. Wax and Beans are a record shop in Bury doing some amazing work at channeling and pushing new music. If you can, we'd love you to support us. Buy 1, buy 2, buy 10. Give them away as Christmas presents. Okay, it's a really good album. But number 3, the way you can also support us is just sharing us. Going on Twitter and clicking retweet. That's it. That'll be enough. Okay, just getting more people to know the name. Comment to us, message us. Come to a gig if you can. But we get it. Times are expensive and things cost money. So just your word of mouth is invaluable alone. And thanks again. and whatever happens, we're having a great time, and we won't be stopping. So that's great too.
Oh, what a way to end it. So that is it, everyone. Thank you for listening to the 141st episode of the Fantastival Podcast. And if you've enjoyed this one, you can subscribe on iTunes. You can give the podcast a review as well. Or if you're listening on Spotify, you can rate the show and also comment on the episode. So if you've enjoyed this episode with myself and Matt, let us know, comment on the episode, and that way we get to see your lovely feedback. We are also on Twitter, as are Apollo Junction. So if you don't follow the podcast, please make sure to do so. You can find us at Fantastival P. We're also on TikTok, but don't do much on there. And if you're not on either format, you can give us an email at fantastivalpodcast@outlook.com. Unfortunately, we don't play music on this podcast, but I'll get some tracks from Matt of the artists he's spoken about, and we will make a nice little Spotify playlist. So if you scroll down in your episode description, you'll be able to find a link there. Go and listen to some new music, go and listen to some tracks. There'll be some great stuff on there. So, Matt, before we end up, I don't know if you realised, and I forgot to mention it, and I should have done, Apollo Junction have actually been chosen before as a fantasy festival act. So you guys were chosen before you two were as a fantasy festival act. So you were chosen by the Shits and Giggles team, which comprises of Kimbo, Laura Horton, Paula, and Laura J.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember this.
So you've actually been chosen. So congratulations, mate, because you're actually... I was just on the leaderboard and Apollo Junction caught my eye and I was like, of course you've been chosen.
Do you know what? I'm going to message Bono now because I've got one over on him.
Amazing. So well done.
He never replies anyway.
So well done on that one. Like I said, best of luck for the future, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I can tell how emotional and invested you are, how proud you are of the album. I think that comes across by the way you talk and the way you interact with your fans on social media. So Friday 20th of October, I wish you guys all the best for the album and the tour. I think it's going to be an epic album, and I think it will take you to places that you never dreamed of reaching. Fingers crossed.
Well, that's the nicest thing that I've heard in a long time. God bless you, mate. Thank you so much.
Likewise. And thank you for coming on, like I said. So I'll be back next week with episode number 142. So please make sure to join me. But until then, stay safe, my Fantastival friends. Please continue to spread the word. And that word is Fantastival. Thanks for listening.